Shalom and good day all, this is the Healing29, back again for another indie comic review. And this time around we are covering Nuclear Family, issue 5 by Stephanie Phillips, and oh my goodness, the way this story ended, I'll wait until I get to actually covering the story rating. It reminded me of a movie that I watched years ago. And I didn't expect it to end the way it did. It was a nice ending. It was not expected, but it was really caught you off guard. But it was still good. So I'm going to jump right into the rating of the cover, to which I gave the cover a rating of 8 out of 10. As now it's time to move into the internal art, which I've really been enjoying in this run, and it's really been consistent in this run. This is some of the art around the beginning. I will show you actually the next page, because we do get a small transition. Really good, really consistent. I'll now move to the art towards the middle. Some more of the art, which is now around the middle. Again, you can see a bit of a transitioning as between where he is in the future as well as the past. Very nicely done, and I'm glad that was actually pointed out in the story. Moving to the end, and this is some of the art around the end. My goodness, I really enjoyed the art in this story. And Stephanie Phillips, before I move into the rating of the story, I wouldn't mind seeing a second volume of this, but if you maybe used, say, maybe another different family, because this was really good. I liked what you did here. And for the art, I gave it a rating of 8.5 out of 10. And I wouldn't mind actually picking this up when it comes out in trade as well. So, now it's time to move into the story rating. So, jumping into the story rating, did this story provide any comic references? No, but I think in some case it might have actually done with maybe 1 or 2 references. I think 1 would have been enough, but it would have helped to improve it. In regards to the time, well, we had the time and location, or the time being 1952, as we saw in the flashback, as we got to see Mr. McLean actually serving in the Korea War, and you also got to see some of his experiences with someone he actually knew. And this someone he actually knew, you actually get to see that was transitioned into the present. The very same person who's sort of like denying that he knows him. But it also feels like 2 different timelines. To almost like a parallel timeline. One to which I think the governor knows him, and one to which the governor doesn't know him. And then we, of course, had the year of 1968, to which we had that jump. Of course, when we first see Mr. McLean, the year is 1958. So we know that when you do see him, it's about 5... no, it wouldn't be 5, it would be 6 years after he'd served in the war. Especially if you go from the 1952. So in that, it provides his backstory as to how much he learned and experienced in the Korea War. Of course, when moving into the cast, we have, of course, the main character, Mr. McLean. We also experience Roger. In the process, in the story, they go to return to the house. And the way this story ended, it reminded me of a movie called Frequency. It came out movie long ago. I think it was late 90s. I could be incorrect on that. And it had to do with a son who ended up making connection to his old man, who in the present day was actually dead. And through him getting in contact with his old man, he was able to relay things from the future to the past. So there would be sort of like a change in the timeline to which he would live and his mother would live and something else would happen to. And you sort of see that towards the end of this story. And I really like how that came across. To which I gave the story rating a 7.5 out of 10. Thank you very much, Stephanie Phillips. I really enjoyed this. This needs a second volume. Bring in a different family. Maybe provide something different in the story. You could probably even set it in modern day. If you really wanted to. But I really like how this story ended. It was a very soft ending, but it also felt like the necessary outcome for the ending. How would it change for, say, a different family in the story in a volume 2? And if you were to bring in this different story, what year would you set it in? Would you set it a little bit further in the past, or would you set it a little bit further in the future? Or maybe even the advanced future? These are just some questions that I would bring up. Well, until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day.